Hello fellow travelers and welcome to the Hard Light Network. Okay, so if you guys watched my last two videos on this channel, you know that I've been covering the controversy surrounding Master Chief removing his helmet in the new Halo show. And while the issue was first raised during the airing of Season 1, the topic has received renewed interest since the announcement of Season 2. In my first video, I covered the drama more broadly by going over some people's complaints, as well as Pablo Schreiber's response to those problems. Needless to say, despite playing Master Chief, Schreiber's response was tone-deaf and antagonistic towards the fans of the original games. In my second video, I covered the character of Master Chief and the significance of his helmet as a symbol of hope for all of the soldiers of the UNSC and for mankind at large. However, in this video, I'm going to be covering some critiques that aren't as strong as they initially appear. You see, in an interview given in March of 2022, Schreiber actually gives a defense for why Master Chief is removing his helmet for long periods of time. Quote, "When you play a first-person shooter, the way the character is developed is different from what's necessary when you're making long-form television. To go on this journey with your protagonist, you're not going to be able to bring an audience along in a long-form story without having access to a character's face, which tells you what they're feeling and how they think about everything. That access to a character's emotional life over the course of time is what makes you empathize and connect with a character." In response to this, many fans left comments pointing to characters in other media who never removed their mask. Or did they? While most of them are pretty well-known examples of masked protagonists, most of them have actually removed their helmet in prior media. So consider this your spoiler warning for all the characters that we're going to be talking about today. That being said, our first example is Din Djarin from The Mandalorian. The reason why we're starting here is because I think this is probably one of the better known examples of a masked protagonist, but I also think it's one of the weaker examples provided. While most people might be aware of the Mandalorian cultural taboo of removing your helmet, the devil's in the details, because the Mandalorian code doesn't actually forbid Mandalorians from removing their helmet, it really only prohibits them from removing it in front of others. Mando can, and does, remove his helmet privately, and he even wears a set of stormtrooper armor as a disguise in one episode. There are actually several loopholes that he employs to avoid breaking the Mandalorian code. So even though he might be known as a stoic, masked protagonist, Mando actually does remove his helmet quite often.
Din Djarin, have you ever removed your helmet? Have you ever removed your helmet? By creed, you must vow.
I have.
Then you are a Mandalorian no more.
Our next example is the tragic character Darth Vader. Father, fighter pilot, and Dark Lord of the Galaxy, Vader's helmet is every bit as iconic, if not more, than Master Chief's. And while it is often argued that the identity of Vader is distinct from that of Anakin Skywalker, there are multiple examples of Vader's helmet being partially destroyed or even removed prior to him reconnecting with Luke at the end of Return of the Jedi. One consistent example is Vader removing his helmet whenever he's inside of his pressurized meditation chamber. Another example is when he's floating in the Bacta tank seeking relief from his many injuries. And of course, as mentioned earlier, there's the iconic scene of him reuniting with Luke at the end of Return of the Jedi. And while Vader is certainly an excellent example of a masked antagonist, it's not like he never removes his helmet. And we only have to go as far as the original trilogy to see that happen.
Luke, help me take this mask off.
But you'll die.
Nothing can stop that now. Just for once, let me look on you with my own eyes.
Another seemingly strong candidate is Deadpool from the Marvel Universe. But again, you don't have to go far before you find examples of Deadpool removing his iconic mask. Not only did Ryan Reynolds shoot a large portion of the Deadpool 2 movie without his mask on, the comic issue of Deadpool Reborn actually shows Wade Wilson on the cover without his mask with no facial scarring from his cancer.
What the hell's happening? Describe it.
I wouldn't ask him to do that if I
Well,
were
it's
you.
like,
Here we go.
It's like he was giving birth anally, but they quit halfway through. They got the legs out and they said, you know what? I'm done.
Happy?
It's like he's a Muppet from the waist down, but this time, you can see the Muppet's. Grover's got a the size of a
I've had 3 tickets already. No, DP, not again.
Has this happened before? Jesus, either vomit or don't. The indecision is killing me.
Why couldn't God take my hearing?
Oh, wow.
Cool your pits. They're growing back.
I'm talking about your face. I've never seen you without your mask before. Jesus Christ.
Looks like an avocado.
Your legs, though. They're cute. You want to borrow a pair of pants?
I'm glad everybody dropped by. You must be wondering why I didn't call you here.
Our next example is none other than Rorschach from the Watchmen movie and graphic novel. And I'm not gonna lie guys, this was one of the better examples. However, Rorschach actually does remove his mask at multiple points throughout the movie and the graphic novel. And no, I'm not just talking about that scene where he gets arrested for vigilantism. Although he does get bonus points for referring to his mask as his face.
He stinks at that mask! My face! Give me back my face!
Another example is when he confronts Dr. Manhattan at the end of both the movie and the graphic novel. Here he confronts John as his true self, without the need of his mask. But there's another lesser-known scene where Rorschach presents himself as an apocalyptic homeless man walking around with a sign declaring the end of the world. This disguise allows him to walk the streets by day without attracting notice. The irony is that Rorschach sees his mask as his real face, and his real face as a mask.
My shoes, my spotless gloves, my face. Putting them on, I abandoned my disguise. Became myself, free from fear, or weakness, or lust. Down alley, heard woman scream. First bubbling note of city's evening chorus.
We aren't done yet, guys, and our next example is Carl Ruprecht Cronin from the Hellboy series. While most people know Cronin from the 2004 Hellboy movie featuring Ron Perlman as the titular lead character, he also made an appearance in the comic book series. In the movie, it's explained that Cronin's suit helps to keep him alive well past his natural lifespan. But in the comics, he's actually described as more of an obsessive-compulsive germaphobe. Regardless of how you were introduced to him, it's obvious that his suit is incredibly important to him, and he doesn't make a habit of taking it off. However, that's not to say that he never does, and both the movie and the comics both show Cronin without his mask on. And while the comics depict him as a pretty average-looking scientist prior to his accident, the 2004 film contains a scene that puts his disgusting visage on full display. Next, we have Judge Dredd, judge, jury, and executioner of the criminal underbelly of Mega City 1. His trademark scowl is as much of a part of his iconic image as his half-mask helmet. For those of you who may be familiar with the comics as well as the 2012 adaptation, you may be tempted to think that Judge Dredd never removes his helmet. However, I can point to an example in-universe of Dredd removing his helmet. And no, I'm not talking about the 1995 Sylvester Stallone movie.
I should have put you down myself. Personally.
You know, I never understood that. Why did you judge me? Why did you judge me?
You killed innocent people.
The means to an end.
You started a massacre.
I caused the revolution.
You betrayed the law.
You see, there's a lesser-known comic book panel where Dredd is attacked by several thugs who spray liquid plastic on his visor. And before they finish him off, the criminals actually demand to see Dredd's face, a request that Dredd actually surprisingly indulges. And though our view is blocked by a censor bar, the reaction from the thugs implies that he's actually really ugly, possibly maimed. And while we don't technically see his face, I think it's pretty interesting how cavalier Dredd was about removing his helmet, although it's unlikely that anybody that ever saw his face lived to tell the tale.
Take it this is your first time in non-sim combat.
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering when you'd remember you left your helmet behind.
Sir, a helmet can interfere with my psychic abilities.
Think a bullet might interfere with them more.
Before we get to my final example, I have some honorable mentions here. First, we have Kenny from South Park, who, although while rare, does actually remove his hood from time to time in show. Next, we have Michael Myers from Halloween, and while his face remains obscured for most of the movies, he actually is unmasked at the end of Halloween Kills. And our last honorable mention actually goes to the Power Rangers, who, while often seen in their iconic suits, aren't actually bound to wear them and appear without them on numerous occasions. Thank you guys for watching this far, and if you haven't yet, please leave a like if you liked the video, and be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on anything else. But our final and probably best example of a masked protagonist, antagonist, anti-hero, he's an anti-hero, is V from the aptly titled V for Vendetta. Like many of the others on this list, V not only appears in his own movie, but he also has a graphic novel that expands on his story. And 99.9% of the time, V is shown with his mask. And the only reason that isn't 100% is because there is a scene in both the movie and the graphic novel in which V escapes the Lark Hill resettlement camp, where he is shown without his mask or any clothing for that matter. However, V's face, and thus his identity, is entirely obscured in both the movie and graphic novel depictions. Except in one instance. In the graphic novel, V confronts and kills Delilah Surridge, a scientist who experimented on him at the Lark Hill resettlement camp. Before she dies from the poison that V administered to her in her sleep, she asks that he remove his mask so she can see his face, to which he obliges. Like Judge Dredd, V's face is obscured with his back turned to the reader. So even though we do have a canon instance of V removing his mask, we still don't know what he looks like. And that's fine, because like Master Chief, V's mask is a greater symbol than the man that's under it.
Why won't you die? Beneath this mask, there is more than flesh. Beneath this mask, there is an idea, Mr. Creedy. And ideas are bulletproof.
But that's going to do it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and maybe I was able to dispel some of your preconceived notions about the characters we discussed today. This is the last video I'm going to be making related to the Halo series, but if you want to see more content, please be sure to like and subscribe, because I have a lot more content prepared for you guys. But what do you guys think? Did you know about some of these famously masked characters removing their helmets? Are you going to be watching Season 2 of the Halo show despite the controversy? Either way, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like, and until next time, love you guys, safe travels.